this past week I released a video on, what did I release it on? It was Proxmox Helper Scrips. Technically, it's Proxmox VE Helper Scrips. And it's something that I think a lot of us have been playing around with for a long time. Maybe. It's something that I've seen here and there, but it's been maturing over time. And it's really, really cool. I think it's really cool. I used it initially to update my Proxmox server, remove the nag, kind of all in one, as well as set the app packages. And from there, it's grown. It's become this library to just install LXC containers really, really fast and really easily. I was also told that I would be cool if I pronounced it Lexi. So I don't know. I'm really big on pronouncing acronyms, and that one I think I'm going to start saying. So anyways, from now on, for me, it's Lexi, because, you know, then you're an insider. But someone told me, hey, that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, so there's this library full of Lexi containers that you can install super duper easy, thanks to the Proxmox Helper Scripts. I love it. And, you know, I've been a huge fan of containers in general. I've been a little shy on Lexi containers. Nothing against them, but, you know, if I had to lean one way or the other, you know, I do so many, you know, Kubernetes and cloud native things. To me, it's just like, oh yeah, you know, a Docker container kind of makes sense to me. But after doing LXC or Lexi for a couple of days, and while I was testing it out, I think someone else said this in the Discord, but it's refreshingly simple. It's refreshingly simple after building out K8s and doing high availability at home and doing all this craziness, even Docker networking, you know, and then Mac VLAN or IP VLAN to get an IP for a container per container. Then you go to LXC or Lexi and you're kind of like, wow, that was too easy. That was too easy. I need something harder. So anyways, that's what I've been working on. Then a couple more things. I think I saw it in chat, but I'll wait. I'll wait till we get there, because I saw one of the messages flying by. So anyways, I'm gonna rewind the clock a little bit. I'm gonna get to chat, and I'm gonna start from the fart. I just read that. Fart collector. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm gonna work my way from the top. We'll blast it on the screen, and we will go from there. Okay. So is this gonna work? Where do I click? All right. Oh, awesome. Let's see. Miss Last. Oh, that was your sub message. Hey, Sinawide. Thanks. How's it going? Good to see you. I keep wanting to say your old name, but I'm gonna say Sinawide. That's what I'm gonna say. Pizza Geek, how's it going? Sinawide. What went kapow with your storage earlier, Techno Tim? Oh yeah. So that's something I didn't bring up. So quickly, yeah. So yesterday, all of a sudden, I got an alert from my TrueNAS server, and it said that one of my boot disks was failing. And I was like, that's easy. I'll just clear the alerts. Happens every now and then, and I'll add it back to the pair. No, that didn't work. And then I tried to remove it, add it, flip-flop, and then wipe, and then remove and add. Well, it got to, hey, dude, thank you so much. IoT me Labs. Resub. Dude, 2 years. How's it going? Thank you so much. Currently setting up Gorcy and programming AI to it. So I know this. I know Gorcy. Or Gorcy. I'm going to say Gorcy. It's a self-hosted grocery app. It's a self-hosted grocery app. It's like inventory management for your pantry and your refrigerator. But that's awesome. Thank you so much for the continued support. Programming AI to it, I don't know what the AI would be. Maybe I do. Maybe the AI, you could say, hey, what can I make with the ingredients I have? That would be very smart, and that's probably what you're doing. Just making this up, but that would be something I'd say. You know, if you're going to take inventory for all of the you know, dry goods and all of the food you have in your house, you could ask AI every day, hey, what can I make with what I have? So, dude, Hype Train, dude, thank you. Sinawide, dude, thank you so much for gifting subs. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, it's like never ending. Dude, thank you so much. Dude, 5 gifted subs. I need to go to the other way. So, who did these go out to? It should be easier than this to read them, but Twitch does not make it easy for me. Oh, there we go. So Garadipple, Mountain Bread, that's what I'm saying. 902 PE Gaming and Muzzy 76 and Stuck on Linux. Enjoy a gifted sub from Sinowide. Sinowid is what I'm going with. Dude, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Dude, Jimbo Slice, how's it going? Jimbo Slice, resub 2 months. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Wow, so much room for activities. There's almost no more room for activities. There's lots of room for activities. Dude, I appreciate it, man. You do so much. Anyways, going back to Gorcy, I would totally ask AI, hey, what can I make? Give me some recipes for the food that I have. And then going back to you, Sinowide. So anyways, I tried to replace one of my boot disks failed. I tried to replace it. I accidentally wiped when I was replacing it. When I was choosing where to, I totally borked my installation of TrueNAS. And then I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll just reinstall it. And then I'll import my config because I exported it, luckily, a week ago. I was like, yeah, I'll just do this. Take me 15 minutes, no problem. Well, when I installed TrueNAS, I wasn't paying attention, and I wiped a disk within my pool. So I just made things even worse. And then I was like, oh, this is bad. I don't have a good boot disk. I wiped one of the disks in my pool. If I wipe the other pair in that mirror, I lose my whole array. Long story short, I just left it as is. I was like, dude, it's like 12:30 at night. I'm just gonna leave it as is. I'll look at it in the morning. So this morning, popped it open, got some SSD drives to replace the whoa, dude, thank you. Happy weekend, everyone. Sudo Al, how's it going? Thank you so much. 100 bits. Thank you. It's a lot of flashing going on. Thank you. Anyways, yeah, I long story short, the array is rebuilding, it's resilvering, and it's going to take about 6 days. So it's going to be a while. So I just slowly put the lid back on, slowly pushed it in my rack, and slowly backed away from it. And I was like, if this one disk fails, in a mirrored pair, then I lose the whole thing. So anyways, thank you. Trevor, yo, Tim, how's it going? What's your take on TrueNAS Scale? Yeah, on the electric eel. This is where I saw it flying by. So what's your take on TrueNAS Scale and the electric eel? Move to Docker Compose. Yeah, so if you didn't know about this, I think it was last Saturday, I kind of blasted out some of my frustrations with TrueNAS. And not necessarily with any of the people or any of the people that are working on it, or even the technologies. It was more just, I guess, voicing my frustrations, the collective frustrations of most of the community. Because I hear it all the time about people, I still use TrueNAS Core because I don't want to use Kubernetes. Why is Kubernetes even on TrueNAS? Like, I hear that all the time. And I always hear people in our Discord community and everywhere else say, I wish it had Docker. I wish it just had Docker. I would use it so much more. Anyways, 2-3 days after I blasted that out, coincidence, TrueNAS says, hey, we're getting rid of Kubernetes, kind of, sort of. We're basically going to take a new approach on containerization, and it will be Docker plus Compose, like everything we've been waiting for. So that was awesome. And then so they announced it, but saying, hey, it's coming in the next major release. The next major release, Electric Eel. I don't know if it's a major. It's a minor. Anyways, the next big release, it's in fourth quarter. It's in Q4, December. And we think it'll Docker and Docker Compose. So, it sounds awesome. Dude, Grease Monkey. Dude, resub. MTD Grease Monkey, resubbed 8 months. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope that I'm calling out everything that is happening event-wise. I'm using Twitches instead of the one I usually use. So if I don't call something out, just tell me. Be like, hey, you didn't call out my sub, and I'll definitely do it. Anyways, long story short, so they are going to do Docker and Docker Compose. Who knows what it's going to look like? Who knows what the UX is going to be like? And who knows what, the experience altogether is going to be like? But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, right? I know how it is to announce things like, hey, yeah, we're going to do this in Q4, end of the year. And this is a big change along with everything else they have bundled in there. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm super happy about it. I think it's a great move. The first thing I said right away to IX Systems was, Great move. Great move. But, you know, people in the Kubernetes community have been building stuff for them, might not be so happy. So it's pretty wild. I think it's a great idea, too. Hey, another stream. PC Geek says much easier management of containers on a more entry-level platform. I totally agree. I think this is the way they should go. Absolutely. You agree. I think a lot of people agree. Just because, even all that aside, they really weren't getting a lot of the benefits of Kubernetes that you would typically get. And on top of that, just adding a huge layer of complexity that I feel like was unneeded. But I'm not their product manager. I don't know where this was going in the future. I only know what I see. So. Zendi just set up PopOS. Yeah, switching over from Windows 11. Hey, there you go. So PopOS, popular Linux distribution. Hey, popular. I like this. Popular Linux distribution was built on Ubuntu, but I think they recently switched and built it on Debian. And I think that recently also happened around the time that Rocky Linux got the rug pulled from under them. So I think, if I'm right, if I got my Linux news right, I think they're on Debian now. And that happened right when the enterprise, the Red Hat Enterprise Linux, basically shut down Rocky Linux. I think that was around that time, and I think so. But awesome. I hope you like it. I think PopOS is a great distribution because I think they're trying to put the end user first, right? And that's what a lot of Linux distributions try to do. But PopOS is doing it in a super approachable way. And I think that's right. That's why I like Ubuntu too, because it's one thing to build Linux for super advanced people. I don't want to say that's easy, but that seems to be the case with a lot of distributions because it seems like mostly advanced people use Linux. But I really appreciate the distributions that are going after someone who's coming from Windows or someone who's coming from a familiar environment, and they're not ever going to open up a terminal. Not that you wouldn't. But I'm just saying, like, no, my parents or my brother and sister and all them should not know what a terminal is, right? I mean, they'll know what it is, but they shouldn't ever have to put a command in there. And if they ever do, it's someone trying to, someone trying to install some ransomware on their stuff. So anyways, that's awesome. Hey, Tim, happy Saturday. I hope you're doing great. I am doing great. Had a decent morning. Something's wrong with my shoulder. It's been like that for 2 days. Who knows what's going on? But got out there this morning. My wife and I dug up the boulevard and planted all kinds of wild flower seeds. And so we'll see what happens. I tore up all the grass and even adjusted the sprinklers and have the timer going. So we'll see if it grows. We'll see. Hey all, sup y'all, Romeo Jr., sup y'all, happy Saturday, how's it going? It is going awesome, it is going good, going really good. I am Mootby, have a couple of questions for me, throw them at me. Yocto, YWS, got 7 servers to unbox and moving my primary networking to 40 gigabits per second. Man, if you don't know, YWS is Yocto. He runs, I call it YWS. It's a co-location out of his garage. It's now basically a data center. There's no way to distinguish it between there's no distinguishing features anymore that make it just a garage. It's really a data center. And I think he's even split it in 2 or something like that. Anyways, dude, that is awesome. So 7 servers to unbox. That is a lot. Dude, Trevor, thank you so much. 100 bits. It would be cool to put my network into YWS, LOL. Hey, I mean, I don't want to speak for Yocto, the CEO and CTO and all the O's and C's for YWS, but I heard he is accepting people, but I don't know. I'll let Yocto speak for himself. But yeah, I think he likes hosting stuff. He's, it's like me. I think he's like me with hardware. I am the way with software. I think he is the way with hardware. Like he wants to host stuff for people and just have a good time. And that's how I feel with Kubernetes and gaming hosting and stuff. I want to load all of my servers up with services that people use and, for a good time. And I might not even partake in some of those services, but I've always found enjoyment, providing a service for people that they get some use out of. It would be awesome. Anyways, 7 servers sounds awesome. Sounds like a lot of work too. I think you'll be doing that tomorrow too. Work today also boring day at work. LOL. Trevor, yeah, man. Yeah, work on Saturday is probably boring, depending on what you're doing. If it's IT stuff, I bet it is kind of boring. But hopefully you find something fun out of it. Imutba, for your Ansible automation, are you doing the Proxmox API directly, or do you set up a VM in Proxmox specifically for Ansible and are using SSH keys there? Reason I asked is because I'm trying to do the install Ansible one of Ubers in Proxmox and use it to control all my VMs from Cloud Init template. I prefer not to install Ansible on my Mac. Can you share some insights? Yeah, so my how do I put this? The Ansible Playbook that I think you're referring to, it doesn't create machines for you at all. So that's something that's on you. That was something like it does work with LXC containers. It does work with virtual machines. But at the end of the day, you got to provide an IP address, right? You got to have a machine that you have SSH access to, and you have an IP address. After that, that's where my playbook comes in. So I don't do any of that. I think it's cool to go against the API, but I think a lot of people end up doing the CLI commands because it's probably easier. I do know that they have a REST API, and I think that's pretty cool that they do it. But I think a lot of people end up, like shelling in and running all the QM commands to do it. So anyways, my playbook doesn't create it. Sounds awesome though. Sounds awesome. I have I thought about adding it, but I feel like it's a little bit too specific, right? It's basically bare metal for VMs if you want to call it that. But yeah. So yeah, I don't do it, but that's up to you. So you can automate that piece once you get an IP, and you can SSH in. Then you can run that playbook and create a high availability Kubernetes cluster. Holy wow, Yakto, is that home or work? Yes, yes to both. Yeah, I mean, I don't know all the details, but yeah, it's he has a data center in his garage, and I think he hosts stuff for people, which is awesome. You can definitely jump box it like that. Wait, oh man, I'm getting mixed up. I assume that's for I lost the thread, but I assume that's for spinning up machines for the playbook. Sinawid. I'm trying out an Intel Arc A310 GPU from Sparkling, in a MS01 for some AV1 encoding with TDAR. Yeah, I saw that one. That's been on my short list for a long time. I think Radal did a video about it, and I was talking to him, and I was like, dude, and I even told this to PC Geek too. I was like, as soon as they come out with a one slot Intel Arc that has AV1 encoding and decoding on it, that's the one to buy. And because it'll fit in servers, And on top of that, they didn't sell one. They didn't sell one for the longest time. Dude, is that Sudo Al again? Sudo Al, thank you so much, 100 bits. I want a new server. How do I justify it to my wife? LOL. And how did you do it when you first started? I was single. So it came with the territory. No, I mean, when I first started I lived on my own. Did I have, a girlfriend, which was my wife now? Yes. So we had different places. So that was easy. It was easy. It was my place, and I just filled it with stuff. And even before that, just out of college, I had a small basement with my brother. We remodeled a house and lived there for a couple of years. And had a corner in the basement. That's where my computer stuff goes. He's like, okay. So anyways, I don't know how you gotta, I don't know. You gotta ease into it. And you have to, I don't know. You gotta ease into it. That's all. That's all. I don't know. That's a tough one. It depends on how standoffish, they are about bringing in more tech. Bringing in more things that, generate more heat, use more electricity. But if you say, hey, something that we're running will run even better or faster, maybe that might be enough. But that's a tough one. It's to each his own. It goes better over like dinner, I'm sure. Go out and have dinner and talk about it. Anyways, but yeah, so that going back to this A310 GPU from Sparkle, yeah, when that came out, I was like, that is the one. That is the one to buy. Because prior to that, Intel, there wasn't an Intel Arc GPU that was a single slot, except for like an OEM, some OEM with some machine. So the only way to get a single slot one was to buy that machine and then take that out. And I think people were even selling it on eBay that way. So anyways, that coming out is awesome. It's awesome using TDAR. I have been considering using AV1 for my long-term kind of archival footage for things I don't even know why I keep them. But I have this thing in my head where I feel like all of my projects I should be able to render them again. It's kind of like code projects, right? You expect when you open a code project, you can build the code. Well, I'm kind of that way with my videos too. When I open a video project, I don't want 50 things offline. I want to be able to say, yep, if I want to render this again for whatever reason, I can. And I think that goes back to code stuff. Anyways, so I've been considering getting that GPU and just letting it run for 2 months straight and replacing a lot of my old footage. Because I'm up to... last time I checked, I'm like at 50 terabytes of data right now, which a lot of that is 4 hours of me messing up per video. Anyways, it sounds awesome. You have to let me know how it goes, for sure. Good day. Hey, Tim, thanks for sharing. The Proxmox Helper Scripts will save time when building a new host. Appreciate it. Yeah, good day. I think so, too. I think it's pretty awesome. It's refreshingly simple. I'll put it that way. Using the scripts and using LXC is totally. I keep thinking I keep going back and forth on my next build. Like, am I gonna do LXC containers? Am I gonna do Docker containers? I kind of wish I could have both. If LXC had some way to just give me an image versus, having its own kernel. Instead of sharing the kernel with the host, and there was a way to do it with just an image, I think I might. I don't know. And when I say this, I'm talking about like my home prod. Like I'm trying to separate a lot of stuff. And for a long time, just 10,000 foot view, for a long time, I just had one server, right? And so I did everything in there. I hosted it out of there. My home production stuff was out of there. And all my testing was out of there. Now I've separated kind of my home and hosting stuff. Hosting's now in Colo, still all self-hosted. So I maintain the hardware and all the software. It's running Kubernetes. But now I have this big home pool of stuff. But I'm still testing and doing home stuff inside of there. So I need one more separation where hey, home, Plex, all the stuff that I self-host for my family, me and my wife and my dogs, they really enjoy Home Assistant, by the way. Home Assistant, all that stuff, I want it to be in an environment where it's super stable. This is off limits. Tim's not going to touch it. It's not part of any testing. It won't be part of any videos. And I'm getting there. Once I get there, then I think it'll feel a lot better. Anyways, long story short, I keep debating, should my home production be LXC? Should I go that route? Seems so simple. And the reason why I keep saying that is because I want some of my services to have an IP. I get it. If I do Docker, I can use Mac VLAN or IP VLAN, which sounds awesome. But then I have just one big Docker host in a VM, whereas with LXC, it's running bare metal on the Proxmox host, and I could share a GPU across 10 containers if I wanted. So anyways, this is what's been going on inside of my head for actually only the last couple of weeks, ever since I did that, started testing that video, did I realize how simple LXC containers are and how they could simplify a lot of the stuff that I want running all the time. Running all the time. Dude, thank you. Sudo Al, thank you so much. 100 bits again. Speaking of Proxmox Helper, I have HAOS running for a while. I'm still relatively new to it. When do I pick OS over core? Yeah, I haven't checked if you have a video on it. Yeah, good question. This actually came up. A couple of people asked me. They were like, hey, when should I choose HASOS over Home Assistant Core? That's a tough one. If you want the all-in-one Home Assistant totally managed operating system and you want access to all of the plugins, like all of the additions, like, hey, I want to install NGINX Proxy Manager via Home Assistant, you can, and that's the one you want to choose. I choose Core mainly because, one, on Docker, you have no choice, right? So I chose Core because they told me I had to because that's the only option. And then so what that means for me is if I want NGINX Proxy Manager, I got to install it myself, but that's no problem because I'm already running Docker. So for me, Core is the way to go because I don't want Home Assistant to spin up containers for me. Does that make sense? Because on HAOS, that's what they're doing. They're running Docker for all of those containers. And that's why when you run it for Docker, they can't like do a Docker in a Docker. So they only release Core. Anyways, it just depends. It just depends. If you're into containers and you want to spin up NGINX Proxy Manager or Traefik or all of the extra containers that come with it to do things, and you're tech savvy and you want to do that with Docker, go that route. If you don't, and you're just like, hey, nope, I totally just want a Home Assistant, appliance where, I get the whole ecosystem in one, then go with HAOS. So I think of it like that. Like, hey, HAOS, you're getting an appliance, right? It's an appliance, comes with an OS, it boots up, should do everything you need it to do. Little tweaking. I mean, there's going to be tons of tweaking with Home Assistant, but you're not going to be, like, like I am, like, oh, I need this plugin, so I'm going to spin it up in Docker, and then I'm going to figure out port management and all that stuff. So, anyways, that's how I think of it in my head. So, yeah, good, yeah, great question. But I choose Core mainly because it's lighter weight. I'm going to install the stuff myself, and I don't really, I don't know what HAOS is all about because I've really never installed it because I've been doing it the Docker way for so long. Dude, Trevor. 100 bits, thank you so much. Speaking of NGINX or Traefik, I'm debating on switching from NGINX Ingress controller to Traefik. Wow, yeah, maybe. Yeah, so it's really going to depend on you. I know there's a lot of back and forth. A lot of times people go the other way. So I think you're in a good spot right now. I would say if you're on NGINX Ingress controller, you have a great Ingress controller. It does a lot of what you need. They don't use CRDs to get things done, but that also limits to what you could use it for. So I would say this. It's totally up to you. But in my head, I think like, hey, if I'm using NGINX Ingress controller and I'm not missing anything from it, and it's simple and it's easy to maintain, and it's actually surprisingly simple with Helm too, I'd stick with it. But if you find like, hey, you know what, I want to try Traefik, or I need something out of it, TCP, UDP, load balancers, I think you can do that with NGINX Ingress controller, then jump to it. It's tough though. I mean, I still run Traefik mainly because it's super familiar, and a lot of my manifests are already there. But I have considered running it and switching to it too. But I would say like, if you're not missing anything that you know of, I'd say stick with it. Unless you want to experiment and try some stuff out, or you want to make some work for yourself. Let's see. Hey Tim, for Kubernetes cluster, can I just use K3s cluster with etcd and MetalLB alone? I find Traefik, speaking of, really hard to configure. I'm planning to have 2 masters, 3 workers. It's not for production. It's just for learning. Can you share some insights? Yeah. So speaking of Ingress controllers, you don't need an Ingress controller, right? An Ingress controller helps you really on layer 7 type stuff. So reverse proxy, right? So if you wanna have a reverse proxy and funnel all your requests into that Ingress controller, right, and have your reverse proxy. Well, actually go to your load balancer first. That's how you do it. Do you need it? No. You can create one load balancer of MetalLB per service if you want, right? There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You just have a huge range in MetalLB. You say, hey, I have this range, 10, 20 IPs, and each time you create a load balancer for a particular service, you'll get a new IP. And you could do that all day long. You could do that for every service that you have. So nothing stopping you from there. So there's nothing technically stopping you from doing it. I will say though, two masters doesn't make a ton of sense. Two masters, because you're not getting any more availability. And if it's just for tests, I'd say 1 or 3. You got to choose. Two is just a waste of resources because it's not helping you at all. It's not helping you at all, and it's not helping you at all because if either one of them dies, you're down, right? So it's not helping you at all because you can't really have quorum because 2 things are trying to vote and they're like, you're leader, no, I'm leader, no, you're leader. So I would say go 1 single node. You could totally do that for testing. Single node, master or server, right? And then 2 workers, 1 worker, however many you want. And I think if I were testing, that's the way I would go. Unless you really, and I would say go the etcd route too, just in case you want to do more in the future, right? If you're like, hey, now I get this. Now I want to do, I want my control plane and my API to be highly available. Then yeah, add 2 more master nodes or server nodes. And then boom, you got 3, you got quorum. And then you can test that too, so. Man, lots of bits. Thank you. I appreciate it. Even more things. I just have too many projects at home, LOL. I wonder how you keep track of projects. I might take full advantage of Jira service management that I've deployed for keeping track of projects. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to take on. I keep it pretty simple. For home projects, it's in my head. It's home projects. It's in my head. For longer term stuff like videos. And I say longer term, like some videos, I could be planning them for a month and a half. It just depends on how things line up, when I get hardware, when I don't get hardware, what's in the pipeline. Then I use, I was using ClickUp for a while, and I switched totally off Trello. So anyways, long story short, I'm going back to Trello. I was using Trello, then I thought ClickUp was pretty cool because it's not as heavy as Jira, which you're going to. And so it's kind of a nice in between. But then I thought, well, I don't even need ClickUp. I'm not using half of the stuff that they have in there. Not even 10%, because it's really for product management, software product management, digital. And so I was like, yeah, Trello's good enough for me. So anyways, linear sudo al. All right, I recommend linear. Yeah, I haven't used linear, but if really, I just need a Kanban board. That's all I need. Kanban board. Give me a couple, virtual Post-it notes and give me some colors, right? And that's all I need. So if Linear does that, I will definitely check it out. Because my needs are simple. I just need to take something from my brain, put it on a virtual Post-it note, and have 4 columns. My 4 columns are always the same. To do, doing, blocked, and done, right? And it's basically how I ran like a lot of software projects at a lot of companies, right? Don't make it too complicated. And to do, doing, blocked and done. That's it, and don't fill up to do the ones are obviously that are ready to be worked on. Meaning, hey, we have all of the requirements. Someone has, decided that this is important and everything's in here. And so I'm kind of like that too at home. If I have a video that I think that I can work on and I want to work on, I'll put it in my to-do bucket. Then I have just a big backlog. And so every now and then I go through my backlog. I groom my backlog and say, hey, remember that? Oh yeah, that was kind of popular. Maybe it's time to check it out. I mean, totally. I mean, that's what happened with my video with Proxmox Helper Scrips. There comes a time when something in my backlog bubbles up for whatever reason. So anyways, yeah, I'll have to check out Linear. I'll have to check it out. If it's self-hosted and it's a Kanban board, I'm going to be all over it because that's all I need. Give me columns. Give me virtual Post-it notes. Give me some auth. I mean, I don't really need it. That's about all I need. Dude, Trevor, 100 bits. Dude, thank you. Thought the bits got sent earlier, but I mentioned how funny it is that sudo Al and I are slinging bits at you. Yeah, you are. Totally. Appreciate it. I think focus is getting a little bit weird from my microphone. Yeah, dude, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. So MP, what are we talking? What specs? I think that was just something else. Sinowide, I'm trying to nail down buying Mount Collins. Wait, a Mount Collins. Get around 160 cores of an ARM and a HomeLab soon. That is crazy. Yeah, that is awesome. That is crazy awesome. That is a lot of cores. But I noticed like with ARM, it seems like they're really big, like Ampere. they're really big on just shoving so many tiny cores in there, right? So many cores, which makes sense. But yeah, that sounds awesome. I'd love to see. I honestly think like Linux runs great on ARM, right? Almost every distribution does. I'm to be honest, I'm kind of excited too to see if Windows on ARM will ever be like full desktop experience. I'm super curious about that too. You know, Microsoft released that dev kit a while. Dev kit was an ARM processor with Windows on it. I'm curious about that. I'd love to see where that goes. I think they're hedging their bets with it, you know, and sticking with Intel. And I think they're hedging their bets to say, yeah, we should probably be on top of this. But yeah, they're pretty locked in with x86. Speaking of, don't they want to buy Steam too? I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up. Let's see. Tim and community. Bill, how's it going? Good to see you. Be well. Thank you. I agree. Good to see you. Romeo Jr., finally getting around to automating some of the basic tasks in my HomeLab environment using Ansible and some helper scripts. All right. Yeah, I'm all about it. Once I started learning Ansible, I have an Ansible script for most things. I should automate my VM creation. I've been super lazy to where I haven't. But everything after it gets an IP, I have automated, depending on its role, depending on what it's going to do. Is it physical? Is it virtual? Is it part of Kubernetes or not? Like, I love it. I love it. And I just actually ran one of my playbooks. I've only had to run a couple times just the other day because I accidentally leaked a password. It's a throwaway password, but in my video I accidentally leaked my password for like my test environment, local account, not public or anything. Like it showed up on the screen, and I was like, oh yeah, that kind of sucks. Whatever. And then so many people messaged me about it. I was just kind of like, oh, I better I'm going to rotate it. Anyways, long story short, what I did was I have an Ansible Playbook to rotate my password on every device. And so I just targeted my dev environment, kind of my local environment. It's really like 2 machines. And I just rotated the password. And so that's one I don't get to use often, but it's nice when you have it. Yeah. And then, but yeah, it's super fun to automate some stuff for sure. For sure. Yocto, new nodes are 5 DL380 Gen 10s, 2 ASUS ESCs 4000 Gen 4s. I also have 2 DL380 Gen 10s that are unboxed, but I still need to install the M.2 SSDs and dual 40 gig cards. That is crazy. That is crazy. I'm assuming it's got to be hypervisor or something. Like, that is so much bandwidth, unless it's going to be storage, or maybe it's all the above. Maybe it's probably all the above. Did you do 40 gig because it's getting inexpensive? Or, yeah, what's the story? That's kind of where I was going too. 40 gig switches are pretty cheap, and I have an Arista 7308 full of 40 gig blades, although I do have 100 gig blades too. This is crazy. Not crazy. When I say crazy, I mean awesome. That's usually how I use crazy. That's how I go. Crazy, awesome. We would love to know what the hell you are running over there at YWS. Mr. DJ Keck, I've asked a couple times too, but then I keep saying, don't tell me. Because I like not knowing. I just like not knowing because then I could I could pretend it's all of these different things. But yeah, I agree. Modest Tim, I ordered 5 new servers yesterday for a new POP in Orlando coming soon. For a new POP in Orlando coming soon. So working on more design docs for this weekend. That is awesome, dude. 5 new servers. That is, man, everyone's getting new stuff. I need new stuff. I actually do want some new stuff too. I want to, again, a 3-node environment for all of my tests. So I either want to upgrade my home production 3-node cluster and then use the old cluster for testing, or just buy one straight out. So kind of like in this weird spot right now where I'm hoping some new hardware comes out soon. But we got lots of it. Sudo Al, dude, thanks for the bits, man. My company just migrated from Ansible to NGINX on provisioning VMs. As weird as NGINX is, for some reason, it's more readable to me than Ansible, and flexible too. Yeah, I have to look at it. I'll have to look at it. I've honestly never looked at it. Yeah, it sounds awesome. So you migrated from Ansible to NGINX on provisioning VMs. I got to see this. I would love to see an example. I wonder, I would love to see an example. Bill, how's it going? I'm playing with Proxmox VE plus LXC VM being able to replace Kate's thoughts. Yeah, I mean, this has kind of been sprinkled throughout it. Being able to replace Kate. So could you do it? Kind of. Like, could you do it in a fault-tolerant way? I doubt it, right? Could you do it in a high availability way where you accept some downtime? Yes, I don't want to say fully replace. It depends on what you're doing. But I say this because, yes, if you had high availability, Proxmox Ceph backend, you had fast networking, and you spin up one LXC container and you just say, hey, make one available anywhere, right? And it comes up, and that machine dies, or something happens to it, it's just going to spin up somewhere else, right? And so that orchestration and that availability, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Kubernetes definitely has a lot more going on than that. But again, going back to refreshingly simple, if you could have just a small mini cluster of Proxmox and have a storage backend that's pretty fast, so you'd need dual NICs on that thing, maybe, or one fast one, to where you could synchronize the Ceph storage, right? You spin up a Ceph cluster for your backend for Proxmox. Yeah, you could do it. And on top of that, if you're using LXC containers, they're tiny. They are tiny compared to virtual machines. So I mean, like, it's gonna, just think you're probably not gonna be restoring 60 to 70 gigs, whatever your default, they're probably thin provision, but whatever your default hard disk is for a full VM is gonna be, a magnitude bigger than what it is usually for LXC containers. I mean, you could probably get by with 1 or 2 gigs, of storage, and that's all you need per LXC. And think how fast it would be to sync or move 1 or 2 gigs of storage pretty fast. So anyways, like I feel like they're still solving different problems, but they can be used to solve some of the same problems, right? I mean, like with any orchestration or basically any piece of software that you're running that's going to orchestrate stuff, depending on how much you want to maintain or how much you want to be involved, I think it could work. But yeah, it's tough. Now, Kubernetes has a lot more going on, right? Health checks, like all this stuff, like, there's so much there. But, if you just want to make sure Plex is up somewhere at home, yeah, the easy button is LXC, right? And it's not even making an HA. HA would just be because you got 3 nodes. But it's pretty cool to think about. It's pretty cool. It kind of, it's kind of eye-opening to me after I play with it some more. There's definitely a time and a place. Like I'll still always run Kubernetes for my production workloads for my public stuff. But I'm starting to think, LXC might be the kind of easy, stable button for my home production for like Plex and Home Assistant. So I don't know. I kind of still want to go Docker, but it's so tempting. Trevor, thank you so much, Bits again. Just thinking about the idea with the automatic ticket creation from Netcool. First, before I get that going, I should get correlation of alarms working so Netcool just doesn't open a ton of tickets at Jira automatically. Yeah, I want Netcool to create a single ticket with alarms that are correlated to each other. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I think when you mentioned this on the last stream, I gave you the challenge, or a couple streams ago, that if you're going to automatically open them, you automatically close them too. But yeah, but that all depends on like, however you're detecting a fault or detecting some threshold, can you detect that threshold is back to a normal state? With temperature, probably, right? If you're like, hey, alert me when it's over 32 degrees Celsius, right? Pretty easy. It's 31, no alert. 32, get an alert, no alert. 33, get an alert, right? And then go back to 32, you're back under that threshold. So if you can open them, I would say close them too. Just have your bots just doing all your work. Let's see. those are part of a thread. Thread. Happy Saturday. I need sunglasses. Dark mode is broken. Yeah, it was kind of yeah, bright for sure. Yeah, Subtrain. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Jimbo Slice Chicago. All right, Jimbo. I keep thinking Chicago Slice. Jimbo Slice Chicago. Man, I get to see your avatar now. Good to see you. Hello. The latest project was finally setting up the RRS sonar. All right, sonar, radar, overseer, radar, all the R's. I have been slacking on it for years, but it's done now. Hey, that's a huge accomplishment. That is a huge accomplishment. I've never set up the stack. To be honest, I don't even know. Like, I kind of get it. Like, I get what it does. Like, yeah, you get your Linux ISOs, you get them fast, you get them organized, you get them the way you want. You get the best quality, you get the best quality ISOs. Like, I totally get it, but I've never set it up before. It does sound like I don't know if it's huge pain, but I'm sure that there's a big payoff too, right? Now, once just like automation with anything, once you got it right, then you're kind of like, just let it work and do its thing. So, hey, congratulations. Like I said, I've never set it up before. I feel like I should, just so I know, but then again, maybe not. Maybe not. Dude, TFCBT, greetings from Big T from Portugal. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, dude, Sinawide. Dude, thank you so much. 384 bits. This is such a random number. Is it a random number? I'm trying to think. Like, is it a multiple? Yeah, it is kind of random. What's your current monitoring stack look like in brief? What told you that your boot drive was sad? Hey, good question. My monitoring stack right now is Zilcho. To be honest, I was using Prometheus, Grafana. Talk about other stacks. Monitoring stack. The Prometheus, Grafana, Alert Manager. I was using that. Basically, the Loki Prometheus stack. I was using that for a while. Then I outgrew kind of the amount of compute I had at home to do that, along with home stuff. Then I separated my stuff out to my colo, and I keep saying like, hey, I'm going to put monitoring back on there. Right now, my monitoring's super simple. Like super simple. It's a combination of Uptime Kuma for my internal stuff, Uptime Robot for my external stuff. Then I have alerts turned on for Proxmox. So anytime Proxmox, whatever, has an error, which is like never, it's the most silent system ever because it's just rock solid. None of my ZFS has ever had any errors or anything in Proxmox. It's so solid. I sometimes I wonder if it's still working. And then alerts turned on TrueNAS, so on my NAS. So, if anything happens, a disk, anything, any alert, anything above warning, then I get an email. So mine's pretty rudimentary, right? Same with my all of my UPSs. Like, whenever there's a surge here, I get so many emails because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 UPSs. So it's like I'm getting like emails from every different system in my house, and then like they're all returning back to normal. So whenever there's a surge, that's when I get the most emails. But anyways, yeah, pretty rudimentary. I thought about consolidating it. I thought about changing it. I thought about better monitoring and even better data collecting. But I just need the time for it. I did, the Loki Prometheus stack for a long time. I need to get back to it, but there were just too many resources for the small amount of compute I had at the time. No excuse. I have a lot more compute, so I'm just making tons of excuses now. But if I ever go back, it's going to be Grafana, Loki, Prometheus. I don't want to say the typical stack, but cloud native typical stack. How about that? I also see that NetData is pretty awesome. I keep hearing about it. I tested it out a little bit, and it is open source, but their cloud product that brings it all together is paid. So, say whatever you want, but I just haven't tried out that yet because that is a super simple way to get monitoring. But the open source version, you have to install it on all of your machines, and then you have to visit a web page on localhost on all your machines. And so you don't get the aggregation unless you go with their cloud product. But anyways, good question. I should get back to it. It was just using way too many resources when I didn't have enough resources. Background is awesomely low. Oh, it's probably dark mode. Now there's all kinds of stuff going on. Gumshoe Noir, how's it going? Techno Tim, I currently use KeePass too. Ooh, KeePass, it's been a while. It has some cool features, but it might be time for something more robust with clients. Yeah, Linux and Android. Yubico support is a plus. Import from KeePass would be a plus too. Gumshoe Noir. Honestly, the only password manager I can recommend, I've used two, is 1Password. I used KeePass before. I'm on 1Password now. It's fantastic. I'm pretty sure. I mean, they have a way to import everything. It is a paid product, but for the couple of dollars a month, you're getting leaps and bounds beyond what some of the free products are offering. Like super cool stuff. API use if you wanted. SSH keys in your terminal. You know, you get so many cool things with 1Password outside of just like, you know, hey, keeping track of your passwords for all your websites, or not even keeping track of them, you know, wiping your hands of keeping track and just say, do it for me. So, I don't know. I went from KeePass to 1Password. I'm a huge fan. You know, KeePass, sorry, I keep saying KeePass. LastPass, so many passes. Pass. Anyways, LastPass, I was a LastPass user for a long time. I did use KeePass for a long time. I used it, I think it was called KeePass 2, even though it was like a later version. I used it on Windows for a long time. And so that's where I kept my passwords. I think my SSH keys and some SQL stuff in there on Windows. And then I had that encrypted, you know, and locked with the key. But yeah. So went from LastPass. Actually, if I think about it, yeah, I went from KeePass a long time ago to NoPass, or basically either Google or Apple managing my passwords, to LastPass. Now I'm on 1Password, and I that's where I'm going to be for a while until something really bad happens. Like it has to be something really bad to where I'll jump ship, because there's very few places to go from here on up. Dude, Trevor, just sending another 100 bits because earlier I explained how Netcool works in my environment. Wait. Just sending another 100 bits because I sent 100 bits earlier. Thank you. I explained how Netcool works in my environment in the previous 100 bits. Thank you. I appreciate it. Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah, there will be an alarm. I see it. So there will be an alarm if the link comes up. A separate alarm will be sent from the device with the severity set to 0, clear, and the type set to 2, resolution. It'll automatically clear the problem alarm. However, in Netcool, if the clear custom field is set to 1, it'll keep the original alarm and then prepend cleared to the summary of the alarm. I like it. Yeah. So yeah, this is probably why you want to run Jira at home, because now that you have like an enterprise system like automated and tied into your hardware, now it's kind of like, yeah, like what else? What else can I get going? I bet they have hooks into it too, where it makes it easier, right? Awesome, dude. Thanks so much for the bits. Lots of bits. I appreciate it. Gumshoe Noir, did I miss that? Anyways, like I said, if I had to guess, I can only recommend 1Pass because that's what I use. 1Password, that's what I use now. Super secure, and I've used other ones, and that would be my current recommendation. Yeah, and then Bitwarden is amazing. Yeah, and you can self-host it too. Mr. DJ Keck, yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, if you want to self-host, yeah, absolutely, Bitwarden is the way to go. It's just tough for me to do the self-hosting piece. I could probably get it. I could probably swing it. But yeah, I got a deal on 1Password too. I'm making up excuses. Like it is a fantastic product. It is a great service. They're pretty secure. If you've ever read how they keep things secure, I did a little reading when when there was all the when there was all the LastPass leaks. I realized some of the things that LastPass should be doing that they're not, that 1Password is, and that's why I was like, okay, well, when my year ends up, when my year, ends, I'm just gonna jump ship, and that just ended, 2 months ago. So I've been on 1Password for, I'm still in my honeymoon phase, but it's so much better, so much better. But if you want a self-hosting, totally hands off, like zero trust, no one knows anything, even though 1Password I think is zero trust too. There you go, dude. Trevor, sadly no web, dude, thanks for the bits. Sadly no webhook capability by default with Netcool without the message bus gateway for probes. I have MTTR APD for processing SNMP traps and the syslog probe pulling from var log external messages.log. Yeah, awesome. So I got it. So yeah, so processing SNMP and then looking at syslog data and parsing it. Pretty awesome, man. Yeah, you totally got enterprise at home. Oh, Dr. Cuddle, how's it going? How's it going? I'm sorry, didn't mean to keep this one up. Hair looking sharp today. Thanks. Yeah, I cut it. I cut it a while ago, but I always wear a hat, so most of the time people don't know what's going on underneath here. But yeah, I cut it a couple weeks ago. So if you could see how short it is now, it was really short a couple weeks ago. So it's just starting to grow back. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for noticing. So Tim, or anyone else, do you have a preferred self-hosted S3 pastebin? Ooh, hosted S3 pastebin. I like the convenient way to share vocal guitar recordings without the Dropbox, G Drive, etc. So if we're talking about S3, just bucket. Yeah, I do. I use MinIO or Minio. I should probably figure out how the heck they pronounce it. I always just call it Minio, but min.io is a nice self-hosted S3 compliant object storage bucket. So yeah, you could host it there, but it doesn't have the niceties like a self-hosted pastebin, which there are tons. Like I looked into this before, there are tons. And I think if you want to share, something like that maybe someone could collaborate on or that you could change later, I would probably look for a self-hosted, pastebin. If you search, it's on the awesome self-hosted. There are like 30 of them. I didn't realize how many people made them. I don't know what the best one is, though. I would love to know what the best one is. So if you find one that's awesome, let me know. Because there are times, like, I want to share code snippets, and I don't want to go through the whole, like, I'm going to create a gist on GitHub, and then put this here, and then remember it's there, and then, I don't want to do that. There are times when I just want to share something, bigger than what will fit in Discord or somewhere else. And like you say, you want your guitar vocal stuff there. So, but that's Dropbox. Okay, so yeah, so MinIO is great for object storage. Is it as friendly as Dropbox? No, because they're trying to compete with Amazon S3, right? So, it's just going to be object storage. You get a browser, typical stuff for object storage. You get an API. But if you're looking for something like a Dropbox replacement, I think you're going to start looking at things like Nextcloud and stuff like that, right? But yeah, Bill Mayer, Gumshoe Noir, moved to KeePass to Bitwarden, never look back. There you go, Bill. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so glad someone mentioned Bitwarden. Dude, Trevor, 100 bits again. Man, is Netcool paying you for this? I don't know. He's loving some Netcool. Trevor, thanks for the 100 bits. Appreciate it, man. Netcool, I'd say it's less focused at the enterprise and more focused at the telco industry, especially since they have the ability to talk to a Lucent 5ESS or DMs 500, both of which are old telephone switches. Yeah, okay, so... Yeah. But you're running it at home. That is awesome. Yeah, you love some. Trevor loves him some Netcool. I know that. I know he loves Cisco, and I know he loves Netcool. Yeah. But awesome. Yeah, that's interesting to know that less enterprise, more telco. But Bill, going back to this Bitwarden. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I sometimes forget. There's Bitwarden. Not because it's not a good product, just because, like, in my head, I all my passwords are hosted. So, you sound all right. That was my test earlier. Thanks. All right, let's. I use Seth Brink GG. Hello, Tim. Hope all is going well. Taking the plunge with Graylog 6 to find out a new way to export metrics to Grafana for visualization. Awesome. I think Graylog is awesome. I used it for a long time. I used the Docker version, and it was super sweet to be able to just search in a search box without knowing any kind of syntax that you get into when you start doing stuff like Elastic or you start doing, any kind of query language is rough, is kind of rough. But Graylog, I loved it when I used it because I could just search, and it was pretty awesome. Whereas with others like Loki, yeah, searching in there, you got to know your query languages. Anyways, I hope you like Graylog 6. I think I was using Graylog 5, the Docker version. It was pretty awesome. you have to let me know. Oh, and that has elastic backend too. But see, this is where I'm saying, like, they have a front end over the top where it makes, searching. Like, there's a great search experience. And that's how I used to tie in all my logs for all my containers. There was a scraper. Didn't use FluentD, but I used a scraper basically to pipe those logs from standard air, standard out of my containers all to Graylog for a long time because it just made searching easy. Like, yeah. So anyways, let me know how it goes. Dude, 100 bits. Trevor, thank you so much. Just casually info dumping about Netcool over here. LOL. I think he's got some affiliate going on with there. Either that or he owns a lot of stock in it. I'm teasing. Dude, Penguin Airlines, I made it earlier this time. Yeah, you did. Sorry, it's later. It's later in the message, but yes, you made it here earlier. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing good. Cinewhite, what am I doing with the audio setup? So I'm going to be switching. I'm using this Wave XLR. So long story short on that one, this has been a saga. Like, it works now. I had so many problems with the Wave XLR. Ended up being a hardware issue. So I just RMA'd the old one. This is the new one. Like, and it works like it should. Like, lights are on. I can mute it. It appears. So many of those things I was experiencing, it was 100% hardware. There is still the Mac piece where every now and then, like, it just disappears. But all the other pieces I had where it was like, I had no idea if it was even going to turn on, was all hardware. And I knew it was hardware because none of the status lights were lighting up anymore. When I muted, when I turned the volume knob, they would just not light up. So anyways, I went through their troubleshooting. They ended up sending me a new one. I sent the old one back. So anyways, I'm thinking of going, I don't know. I'm really thinking about moving my audio like external, right? So I don't need my machine on to actually record. Because right now I'm bound to my machine. My machine has to be on to record right now. And so I was thinking Podcaster. So I think Rode has the Podcaster thing, the Duo, which has, 2 XLR mics and can record without a machine. So basically getting my audio out or not being tied to a machine anymore. So that's what I'm thinking. That's winning so far. That's the fun. No idea what hype train is. Yeah, that's me too. I know what it is. Bill, but it's hard for me to know when it happens. But there's like some threshold you have to cross, like with subs, bits, something, and then it turns into a hype train, and then it has a bar and moves up and down. But yeah, it's a Twitch thing. Tango01, can we take a look at deploying Kates on Proxmox with Terraform? Yeah. Me sometime? Maybe. Yeah, so I maybe. Because I think Terraform is a good way to do it. I've been doing it with Ansible, which also works, but yeah, maybe. Not in my backlog, but I will keep it in my backlog. I've done some Terraform stuff before. People love or hate it, and it's just a tough crowd, at least for my channel. And I would think that most people would like it, and a lot of people are just like, I feel like either they don't want to know about it or they do it at work and they don't want to hear about it at home. So I feel like a lot of Terraform stuff is that way. Outside of the, hey, Tech with Nana, let's do the, 8-hour course to figure out what Terraform is and how to use it. After that, I think people are like, I'm good. I don't need Terraform on YouTube anymore. And so her stuff does really well for that stuff. But then, like, if I make content around it, it just doesn't do well. Yeah, Open Tofu, that too. Yeah, Open Tofu. Yeah, either one. Let's see. Wow, I don't know what this emoji is. Oh yeah, Ms. Easy. Gumshoe Noir, Techno Tip, no hat looks good. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I always wear a hat, and then every now my hat is right here just in case. It's close. Like I don't go far, but I was like, if things get weird, it's right here. PC Geek, a bit of a big topic for stream, maybe something to do in Discord. Oh yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, for the Terraform stuff, yeah, it definitely can be done. It's definitely doable. But you're gonna have to. I mean, I don't have a plan that can do it where I could apply it. But it sounds awesome. Let's see. Ceph might be a bit overkill for my purpose, but I'll definitely give it a look. So this was talking about Ceph backend, I think, for Proxmox. Yeah, no, like if you only have one node or two nodes or three nodes, like you don't have to do Ceph at all. I think Ceph is where you're going to get high availability virtual machines or LXC containers. Not saying you need to do that, because I don't even do that. Like I have two 3-node clusters of Proxmox, and I'm not using Ceph. Like I'm just like, no, they all have their individual storage. I can migrate stuff around. I can back them up. I can restore them anywhere. And I didn't bring Ceph in because it requires more hardware, requires more throughput, requires fast networking, and requires, another thing to care and maintain. So I'm not using it either. So I was just throwing it out there. Penguin Airlines, I've been great, Tim. Lots going on between breaking my spine and having a daughter. Dude, talk about like opposite ends of the spectrum. Congratulations, and I'm sorry, in one. Dude, hopefully your spine's okay. I can't even imagine what that's like. And then like what recovery's like. It's probably super painful. And on top of that, you had a kid. And that's got to be tough too. Not like having the kid, but just not being able to be like, super mobile. So hope you're okay, man. Hope you're okay. Hope your spine's okay. And hope your kid's okay. That is a lot going on, man. Hope you're okay. Mr. DJ Kep, those scripts are nice. Makes life simpler for a lot of things. So this is going back to the Proxmox Helper Scripts. I agree. It's awesome. I totally agree. PC Geek been saving my points. Yeah, PC Geek was lighting it up earlier, wasn't he? Cinewhite. Do I see a tiny rack behind you? A label printer. What are you building? Man, you have eagle eyes. You have eagle eyes on the label printer. The mini rack, yeah, that's kind of easy to see. The label printer, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. That is the brother label printer that I lost for a year, and I thought my wife donated it. And we went back and forth on it. Like, I'd always say, yeah, I wish I had my label maker, and I thought she got rid of it, and she told me I misplaced it. Turns out I misplaced it, and turns out it's in the same place. It's in the place it should have been the whole time. Anyways, so that's a tiny mini rack. I think you've probably seen it on from Jeff Geerling. It was a Pi rack. They also sent one to me, and I was like, dude, Jeff did such a great job. Like, I probably don't have anything interesting to contribute to it. And they're like, well, just take it. We build this stuff for people who tinker. And if you find a use for it someday and give us some feedback, we'd love it. So I was like, okay. So I've been playing with it a little bit. Raid Owl has one too. I think we might have a rack off. A mini rack off. We'll see. I don't know what to call that. It's getting kind of weird, but it's getting kind of weird. But yeah, that's what it is for sure. Good eyes back there. I realized a long time ago that you guys are always curious what's going on back there. Ever since I almost leaked something. Can I say what it is now? Oh yeah. No. I'm just not going to go there anywhere because I still have stuff that is not out yet. So, anyways, I need to do a better job. Well. Now it looks cool. Like bokeh plus RGB or LED lights makes everything look cool. If you walked in here right now and you looked at that desk and looked at all of the junk on there, you would be like, dude, what is going on here? Like, why do you have, plastic, ripped up and cut up and, sticker wrappers everywhere? But, when you have some, when you have some LEDs and bokeh going, it looks pretty cool. So, and that desk back there is even worse. That is so worse. Like I think my soldering iron's still on there and solder everywhere. Let's see, TFCTP. What do you think about the best Linux distro for general use, home office, and some gaming sometime? Linux Mint is a good choice, but Ubuntu base has good GPU drivers compatibility. Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it. I think you kind of nailed it on the head. So one, I'm a huge fan of Ubuntu just because it's easy. It's easy. I know it has a ton of support. I know it's going to be compatible with most things. So I'm a fan. I've been a fan for a long time. I think I said this many times, but 4.10 was the first one I ran. And that might have been the first one. I don't remember. But that's 2004. October, I think. And so, like, I've been running for a long time, so I love it, and I'm a fan. Like, even between their whole Unity, not Unity, their UI stuff, like, you know, that's less important for me now, just because I use the keyboard to search for everything. So now I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Like, Windows has a start menu, I know that, but I still don't like use it like a start menu. Anyways, general purpose office use, that's kind of tough. I mean, I think for me, I could recommend Ubuntu for almost anything, and I would feel comfortable with it, right? I don't feel like there's any like exceptions where, like, if someone was really gonna try Linux, like if I took Windows off my mom's PC and put Linux on it, and you know, put Chrome icon on there, it should be totally fine. Should be totally fine. Should figure out how to shut it down. Should figure out how to open Chrome. Should figure out how to close Chrome, right? If she needed to open a spreadsheet, you know, Open Office or something like that, or LibreOffice, whatever it is now, put those on the desktop, and she would be like, yeah, that kind of looks like Excel. I'd probably rename the icons and say Excel, and, you know, and she would be fine. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of there. There's a whole lot of, like, you move my cheese, right? Like, hey, my cheese used to be over here, now it's not there. You know, and you'll find that with going to Linux or switching anything in general. You change on anyone, they're going to say, my thing used to be here, now it's there. And that's going to happen, obviously, if you go with Linux too. But, you know, hey, instead of clicking the start button, then shut down, then yes, shut down, and no, don't do updates right now, you know, you just click in the upper right, you click power down, and yes, you want to shut down. Anyways, but we were talking about PopOS. That is awesome too. I'm a huge fan of Mint, because that was the first time where I was like, hey, this is like Ubuntu, except for, you know, has, I think it has GNOME. Has GNOME, I think it still does. It's been a while. And on top of that, like, all of the drivers and all of the, you know, the proprietary drivers are here that work, you know. It's funny because, like, you know, with Linux, you're like, yeah, open source. And then, like, you get it and you're like, but I can't use my video card and all this other stuff unless I use proprietary stuff. So turn it all on. But for the most part, everything else is. So anyways, long story short, yeah, I would have to recommend, it's either going to be a Pop, or it's going to be a Mint like you're already using, or it's going to be Ubuntu. I don't know. Or SteamOS. Is that still a thing? If it's for gaming. But that's tough. That is tough. Chemical Ivory. Kubernetes is a bit over-engineered, but I don't know any other platform that has quite so rich of an operator ecosystem. Totally. Chemical Ivory, I totally agree. It has something in there for everyone. Right? It has something in there for everyone. I agree. And a lot of times people use it when they probably don't need to, right? There's probably a lot of people who just use it because that's what the industry is using, right? So I totally agree. And that's why like at home, like, you know, I'm running Home Assistant in Kubernetes on my home production, and it feels like every third day something's messed up. You know, something's not right. Multis isn't working. The PVC didn't reconnect. The pod's in a crash loop. Who knows what's going on? And, you know, I have to kill pods. Like that's fun at first, but at the same time, like, I want my stuff to work, and I shoehorned Home Assistant in there because I could. And so sometimes I think it's more of a can I versus should I. And I get it that some people are running, it's great, and that's what they want to do. But I enjoy home ops in general. But I also want to do less ops so I could do more home stuff or more new stuff, right? And so, you know, as I look at some of the things that I'm, you know, running at home, and how stable or unstable they are, I kind of want some of that time that I'm putting into the things that aren't stable into new things that I'm excited about. And so, you know, I understand that, you know, just like this morning, you know, or last night, it was my own fault or part of my fault, you know, disk died. I did something dumb on top of it. And so now I have a whole lot of ops stuff to do. Totally acceptable, totally acceptable. But like when I'm like something with Plex, like my wife really depends on it for like shows she wants to record. And if that's not working, and that's just not working just because Kubernetes is being weird, that's not good. And so then I'm spending time on like fixing that thing that, you know, personally it's fun to run in Kubernetes, but I honestly think it shouldn't be in there unless you want to spend a lot of time on it. You know, I keep going back to like, okay, if I just go with this is the struggle. This is me over the last couple of weeks. You're getting into it now. Do I just go with Docker and have one big Docker virtual machine, share that GPU with everything, and then use, you know, IPVLAN and MACVLAN to get IP addresses for all those containers? Or why even do that to begin with? And why not go with LXC and do LXC right on bare metal so that every single LXC container on my Proxmox machine can use my video card? And on top of that, the LXC container will probably be a lot more stable than it was in Kubernetes. Docker, that's TBD, because Docker's pretty stable. Like it'll restart, you know, it'll do everything it needs to do. My only question mark is MACVLAN and IPVLAN. Like I know it's a thing. I know Docker has drivers for it. I've just never used it with Docker. I've used it for Kubernetes, believe it or not. So anyways, yeah, it's going back to what you were saying. Yes, yes. And sometimes when you bring that home with you, it's, I mean, you just got to live with it. And that's kind of where I am. Like, I love Kubernetes. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I run it. I have 3 clusters. But now as like my time is getting thin, I'm kind of thinking like, yeah, I should have an environment that's stable that only changes when I need to change it. And everything else is play. And so I've been realizing that a lot too. After doing that video on Unraid, a lot of people said exactly that. Said exactly what I just said, except for their own way and their own implementation. I heard this from so many people. They said, yep, I have a HomeLab. That's where I play with stuff. And the things I want to run are on Unraid. And these were people like I just didn't even think used Unraid. You know, as soon as you talk about something, as soon as you give people permission to talk about something, not permission, but as soon as you say, hey, this is cool, and you know, other people don't feel like it's not cool anymore. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is like, there's a lot of haters of a lot of different things, and sometimes those people who really hate something can drown out the people who like stuff. Anyways, but once I did that video, a lot of people were like, yeah, HomeLab, I destroy that thing all the time. That's running anything I want, Kubernetes, you name it, Docker Swarm. But my home stuff, yeah, that runs on Unraid, and that's, you know, I don't touch it. So I don't know. I've kind of been, yeah, there we go. That's what Kez. That's what I was just saying. As soon as you mention it, like people are like, yeah, I love it. But until you mention it, like you don't know if people like it or not. And then, you know, if you make YouTube content about it, you know, the first hour and a half are comments of people who are raging against it. And then like the people who like it come later. So the people who are mad and don't like stuff are always first on videos. They're always first, which is fine with me. But like I say, sometimes that drowns out the people who are just like, I wanted to say I like it, but now there's 30 people who say they don't like it, so I'm not going to say anything at all. Anyways, going back to this, yes, this is what has been spinning in my head for about. There were only 2 things spinning in my head for 4 weeks. The first 2 weeks, it was Kubernetes or Docker. Which one do I do? You know, to make it most stable. I'm doing both right now, and I was leaning towards Docker. Now that LXC is in here, now I'm just like I'm in a, you know, spin cycle where I'm like I keep convincing myself like I found the answer. Yeah, I found the answer. And then I think of about 2 things that like, okay, well, do I really want to manage it that way? So yeah, it's been fun to think about. Or as rich as of DevOps stories, Kubernetes. I totally agree. And so you're hitting the nail on the head with me. Because there's very little DevOps story with LXC, right? And so this is where I keep going. This is like where the spin happens. Because I want to do infrastructure as code. Once I go to LXC, there is no infrastructure as code, right? There is no. I'm to the mercy of app packages and updates and dependencies all working together, right? And that's why I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want to do that. I'll just build a single Docker machine, and I'll have the Docker stack. And then I start thinking about, well, I want to put some things on different VLANs that might be in the, on the same machine. And that's where I go, well, then I need IP VLAN. And then I'm thinking, well, wouldn't LXC be better? And that's where I get in the spin style. But I totally agree. It's tough. It's tough. Yeah, keep it simple. I agree. That's what I think. Like my HomeLab is going to start to be, it can be as wild as it needs to be. But I think I need to set aside a box that's pretty stable where, at least Plex, Home Assistant, and Scripted run, where I'm not going to touch it. Because right now, like my Scripted is saying like snapshot failure. All the cameras say snapshot failure and text, like, because I keep playing with it because it's on Kubernetes with everything else, And so anyways, yeah. IoT and me. Currently set, we talked about Gorcy and the AI, and I'm hoping it was, here it is. Yes. That's exactly what I'm doing. Yes. It's funny because I have little inside track on this because I used to work for a company, a startup that I helped build, was in grocery delivery. And we looked at Gorcy before and what they were doing. We're like, this is pretty cool. And I think their slogan was an ERP for your refrigerator or something like that. And it is definitely enterprise resource planning. But we would always say, like, who wants to do like enterprise resource planning for your refrigerator at home? Like, because everybody that, worked at this company, we worked at another larger company where, ERP was a thing that like no one wanted to do. Anyway, so long story short, I know Gorcy, that open source project. And so I knew when you said it, I'm like, I knew what it did. Keeps track of your pantry and your refrigerator. And then I knew right away because I was like those are the same types of problems we were trying to solve at Basketball when I was there, trying to optimize shopping lists and also figuring out how we could make a recipe shoppable, which we did. And then, hey, could we recommend, recipes based on what your shopping list is or what your pantry has. So anyways, they are no more because we got bought. PC Geek. Oh, sorry. I'm like yelling that out. K the fail horns. What? Oh, Q the fail horns. Yeah. Q them again because I just said K. Because when I see that, I always think, like poor K. Anyways, video on Timproof cluster coming soon. Yeah, right. Is there any? Yeah. Is that possible? No. Because as you saw, with what I did, I accidentally formatted the wrong disk. And if I would have formatted one more disk in that mirror, I would have lost all of my data. I have backups. Some I don't. Anyways, yeah, ouch, 6 days. Yeah, 6 days. Yeah, that's how long the resilver is going to be. Your air conditioner is back 110% in the back. Your air conditioner in the back is 110%. Yeah. Actually, no air. We've been pretty lucky here in Minnesota to have like the perfect weather, like high of 70, low of lower 50s. One night it got to upper 48s. And I'm like, yeah, this is like, let's open all the windows. This is my kind of weather. We've been pretty lucky. Humidity and heat is creeping up. I think today it's going to be 80 and it's getting pretty humid. So it's getting close to time to opening up the AC. Fortunately, I haven't had to turn it on yet because I have those windows open even though you can't see them. And I have the fan on full blast in here. So, all right, guys, I'm going to look for some more. I went way over time, but I'm having so much fun talking to you guys. I just want to... I've been staying on. I've kind of been ignoring the time, and it's probably not fair to everyone else who's on here helping me out. So let me see. PC Geek. Awesome thing is I can manage my Docker containers on TrueNAS scale using Portainer. Yeah, once they switch over, yeah, good call. Yeah, so you can manage your Docker containers on TrueNAS. Yeah, scale using Portainer. It's funny because yeah. So basically, you're gonna run Portainer there, and then you could. Then all of your agents can connect back to there so you can manage them there. Yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking about how we talked about you could actually run Portainer, the management piece in Kubernetes, right? And then install the agents on machines. And then you're like running Portainer in Kubernetes to manage other Docker machines. You totally could if you wanted. You totally could. PC Geek, yes, I did that. Portainer is in Kubernetes. Yeah, that's awesome. I remember us talking about that. How it, like, hypothetical, like you could do it. That's awesome. Yeah, if I ever ran Portainer again, yeah, that's pretty much what I would do. Because I'm like, why put it on the machine, one Docker machine? I'll throw it in my cluster, so I know where to find it. I get certificates, like all the goodness you get from Kubernetes stuff. And then I'll just install agents on machines, and then I'll just access it through a highly available, service like Kubernetes. But it's managing all of its minions with its agent. So yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm gonna just start clicking on some that I don't recognize. So looking for something to do with the Pi 5, mounting a Ceph drive and using it as a file server, but not sure what else. That's tough. I kind of get to that point too, where I'm like, yes, I have this piece of hardware. What do I want to do with it now? There are lots of things you can do with it. I mean, anything you think you could do, even with x86, the same applies with the Pi. But Jeff Geerling has a ton of stuff you could try out. But Pi 5, if I had a Pi 5 right now, what would I do? Well, I hear that it supports NVMe. I know that it has a hat. Yes, I know that's buying more hardware, but for me, I would get that hat, I'd put, NVMe drive in it, and I would try different things. I don't know. I think Geerling ran Open Media Vault on it for fun. Yeah, I'm not sure. That's where it ends. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like, hey, it's just a small version of a computer. But I mean, if you had one or multiple, and you had the NVMe drives, or you just had flash storage, Kubernetes actually becomes like a thing you could actually try on Pi 5s because it has enough CPU, and because you can add an NVMe drive that gives you faster storage, so you don't have to worry about etcd being super slow on USB or micro SD. But you probably only have one, but you could still do it. That might be pushing its limits. So if you have NVMe, and you say you have the 8 gig version, run a single node Kubernetes cluster all on it and watch it start on fire. No, it should be fine. But yeah, single node. So that would be one single node. It would have all roles, and then you'd basically have a Kubernetes cluster of one. But the NVMe drive is super important there because etcd is super latent sensitive to latency. Does that even apply with a single node? I don't even know. That is boggling my mind. Maybe it doesn't apply to a single node because there's nothing for it to synchronize to. But I still think it has to do a lot of read and writes. Yeah, it still would because one of the agents would be running on it too. Okay, this is getting like Inception. Have any fruit trees in your garden? Riderhood Jeff. Oh, talking about the thing I was planting. I don't. In Minnesota, it's tough to plant anything in Minnesota. We're zone 4. I think we're zone 4, which means pretty much you can only grow hostas. No, we're at zone 4, so it's hard to grow anything. I think the things that people do grow here, apples. Apples are pretty popular, although Michigan has a ton of apples too. So apples are popular. Cranberry bogs are super popular in Wisconsin, not too far from here. But apples are huge here. Apples are huge. And then, little known fact, University of Minnesota, obviously in Minnesota, they developed the Honeycrisp apple. So if you like Honeycrisp apples, it was developed here at the University of Minnesota. So at their Arboretum or something like that. Anyways, that's what people tell me. That's like a little known fact when you're eating an apple. People will be like, oh, Honeycrisp, that's, it was developed here at the University of Minnesota. So would you say Docker, Compose, and Portainer would be good for a few HomeLab services to avoid Kubernetes complexity? Yeah, Wooden Dave with the Spotify. With the Spotify, I kind of recognize it. Sorry it took so long to get to your message. Would I say that Compose and Portainer would be good? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I wouldn't even stop at few. It would be great even if you had 30, right? If you have the compute on the machine, you have the RAM, you have the disk space, Yeah, Docker Compose is just gonna Docker in general, it's just gonna handle containers all day long, So there's nothing wrong with that, and I totally agree. Like, I totally agree. I only think you should really try Kubernetes if like you're really genuinely interested in it, or you just want a challenge, right? You've already done everything in Docker and you want a new challenge. Real quick, sudo Al. Good chat. Woke up at 4 a.m. for this. Hey, thanks so much. Thanks for the bits. Time to do some daddy chores. Hello. Enjoy the weekend, guys. Dude, sudo Al waking up at 4 a.m. to catch this, man. And now doing dad stuff, dude. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. But yeah, Compose will handle all your needs. And then if you do need a UI, Portainer will work. There's that other Dodge, the other So there's I don't know how to pronounce it. But the Uptime Kuma maker made the Dockage. Oh yeah, I read the thing. He said in the README it says people pronounce it Dockage, but he meant for it to be pronounced as Dodge. So, anyways, I'll call it Dockage because most people are going to call it that. But I think in his README he said initially it was meant to be pronounced Dodge. Anyways. If you like Uptime Kuma and you like that whole experience and you like the UX and you like the simplicity, that maintainer also created something for Docker that allows you to actually use Compose files without holding them hostage. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you use a Compose, if you use Compose in Portainer, if you actually use their editor to do Compose, they're just gone. They're just totally gone. But if you spin them up with Compose yourself and then just view them in Portainer, they're there. Anyways, long story short, outside of the tools to do this with, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm still debating all of my home prod stuff. So I'm thinking hey, Frigate, Scripted, Home Assistant, Plex. Those are pretty 4 heavy hitters, and then I'm going to bring on some AI stuff too. I'm talking 7, 8, pretty intensive workloads. I'm going to run in Docker, most likely, right? Because here we go again. Is it LXC or is it Docker? I think I'm going to go Docker minimally. And it can handle it. It can handle it. It just depends on your resources for sure. Munzie, PopOS looks to still be based on Ubuntu. Okay. So I've been following their tweets because I follow PopOS on Twitter, and I think they're building. Okay, so maybe I thought they were further along, or maybe I signed them up for something they didn't know they were getting signed up for. This is all just loosely based on Twitter memory, but I think they were building a version based on Debian versus based on Ubuntu because I think they were scared about rug pull stuff. But yeah, so good call. I know they've been working on, and there's a code name for it. I forget. Or I'm making this all up, or totally remembering the wrong thing. Garage data center, yeah, totally. Okay, I'm getting close. This is a follow-up to yours. Would it handle auto update of containers? No, but there's something called Watchtower, and I think it's also by the maker of all the R's. But there's this thing, Watchtower. I don't know if there's an R in it, but the thing is called Watchtower. And what it does is it looks at all of your containers, looks to see if there's an update. If there is, you can tell it to auto update. You can tell it to auto update on a schedule. You can tell it to auto update only on certain days of the week. You can tell it to email you before, So if you're looking for auto updates on containers, look for Watchtower, especially if you're doing Docker only. And you're not going to do GitOps. Yeah, Watchtower. And you just want maintenance free. Just, hey, I want the latest all the time. Look up Watchtower, bookmark it. All right. I got to look for ones. I got to look up for one. Oh my gosh. I'm so sad, guys, that I've skipped over so many. Bill Mayer, MSO1 using HA backbone on USB C4 is awesome. Oh, Jim's Garage. Oh yeah. I saw that. That he was going to do a 25 gigabit, I think, backbone token ring, basically. Yeah, I saw that. That is interesting. Yeah, MSO1, that's like my dream. That's my next, maybe. So that setup right now is kind of like what I would love to have for my next home cluster, so that I could then dedicate my current Intel NUC cluster to totally just HomeLab, 100% like break it all day long. And but I'm just like tied up. I'm like, well, that thing was released, a year ago. Are they doing anything else with it? So I kind of want to see, because I like everything that's there. I like everything about it. I mean, it has so much network. It has networking for days, and that doesn't even involve USB-C. So that thing is awesome. But it's like, do I want to drop? I mean, we're talking like easily $2,000, because if you think like, hey, I got to get 3, hey, I got to get hard drives, RAM, all this stuff, it's a lot of money. So anyways, that's another thing that I've been like holding off on. Is it audio or is it the other cluster? And I think it's going to be audio. So what's good about it over TDAR? So this is going, I assume this was about some video conversion. I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna scroll and I'm gonna look, and I'm going to see if there's anyone new that maybe has said something or something. I'm going to go, okay, I'm just going to click on one. No, I better not click on some of these. That's what I'm trying. Richard says, how do you run your DNS? LXC. Oh, yeah, so good question. I think this is to me. I'm going to take it. So how do I run my DNS? This is a good question. Do I run an LXC? No, I run it as a VM. Why? Because I didn't know enough about LXCs when I created that VM like years ago. So I'm easy mode DNS, right? I'm totally easy mode DNS. It's totally Pi-hole. I've made it not so easy. Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instances spread across 2 physical locations. That does synchronization all back to a primary instance. And so I'm in pretty deep with Pi-hole. We go way back. So anyways, yeah, I use Pi-hole. It's great for DNS. It's pretty good for local DNS. And it's great for ad blocking and all that stuff. And it has UI, so that's pretty nice too. So anyways, that's what I use. I've been thinking about doing an LXC. I know that PC Geek was doing it too. He does it to an LXC, I think. And I've been like, why don't I just do this as LXC too? Well, to undo it takes work. Does it take a lot of work? No. Could I do it in an afternoon? Sure. But is that what I want to do in an afternoon? I don't know. So anyways, I would recommend, like, if you're gonna spin up a virtual machine, if you're using Proxmox, and I'll end on this. If you're using Proxmox and you're thinking about creating a virtual machine to host one service, I would honestly think about just creating an LXC instead, especially if it's just for one service. This is where I think LXC really shines, right? I just want to run Pi-hole. Well, why am I creating a 40 gig disk, giving it 4 cores, giving it all this RAM to host the kernel and the operating system just for that one service? And this kind of goes back to why I still really like Docker too, right? Application level virtualization. But now I'm like, why do I have some VMs that just have one service on it? Well, that's because how I always did it. I honestly liked the separation too. I liked the separation from the kernel, even though I didn't know that there was another option. This is way before LXC. Well, way before I knew about LXC. And so now I'm thinking, like, if I have any VMs that are running one service, one thing, that is a good candidate. Well, I say it's a great candidate for Docker, but if you're not into Docker and don't want to do containers, it is a great candidate for LXC. So now I'm kind of like in this mode where it's like, is there a Docker container? Yes or no? Would it be easier in LXC? Yes or no? Should it be a VM? Yes or no? I think my tiered list of my decision tree is starting to change. I don't know how yet. I don't know how yet. And I still don't have a definite answer on when to use LXC and when to use Docker. I wish there was an easy way for me to say yes. I mean, if you want GitOps, you have no choice, right? If you want GitOps, you have no choice, because there isn't a way to do, traditional. It's not so traditional, but GitOps is typically something that's repeatable. And it's hard to do repeatable things when you have, an LXC that has an operating system and has dependencies that can change, right? And with a Docker image, while you can do something inside of the container, that once you kill that container, everything you did is just undone, right? That image that you're running, the image itself is immutable. So unless you build a new Docker container, but then you're building a different container altogether. So anyways, we'll end on that. If you're gonna do DNS, choose your DNS system. There's a lot of good ones out there. Like I said, I go an easy route. I pick Pi-hole. It's easy. It's fast enough. Get good syncing with Gravity Sync. But if you're gonna do it, I would probably say LXC. Use a LXC. Container is an LXC container. Am I doubling up the C's? Anyways, people told me I should say LXC, and then I sound like I know what I'm talking about. So anyways, I'll end on that. Yes, I think you should. If there's ever a time where you have one service, LXC is the way to go. LXC is definitely the way to go. Oh, let's see this. All right, my Proxmox. All right, let's one last one. Let's end on this because this is a comment. Oh, I don't even know where comments are, so I might be missing something. So I'm just going to read it from here. Truth Acolyte. On my Proxmox, it's 100 OpenSense VM, 110 Debian LXC for services, 120 Debian VM for dev. Gotcha. So I see what you're doing. So you have, so you're like remixing LXCs. You're like, yeah, like I'm just gonna use an LXC for all these services, like multiple, just like service party. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you're just using it instead of a VM, why not? Why not? In my head, I was just thinking like, hey, I want separation of concerns, right? I want separation of concerns. That's why I like Docker. That's why I like containers in general, right? Ship with the dependencies. I can run multiple versions of things, next to each other, side by side, totally isolated. They don't care. And I could run it on any OS. It doesn't care because all my dependencies are there, and then there's LXC or LXC where it's like, oh, it's kind of like a VM, and if I update, all of my packages, I may or may not have broken something and I may or may not know what version it's on. So, but yeah, I don't know. This has been an eye opener for me, and I still need to work on my decision tree and figure out the best use case for each. So there's just a little tiny piece where I'm just like, as soon as this starts to get in GitOps, that's where I'm like, I love GitOps. Like, why would I give that up for simplicity? But I also love simplicity. Why wouldn't I take that over complexity? So anyways, hey, thank you all so much. Thanks for tuning in on this Saturday. I do apologize. I went a little bit later, more like almost an hour later. So been having a good time. Sorry. PC Geek and other people who are helping me out with the stream, going a little bit late. I do appreciate it, and sorry, went a little bit late. If you have something you want to share, if I skipped over your comment because like, hey, I scrolled too fast or accidentally clicked your comment and you saw it on the screen, but I never read it, all possible and all have happened before. We have a Discord community full of almost 10,000 people. You should absolutely join if you want. Super low ping, super laid back. A lot of helpful people. We have tech channels. We have chill out channels. We have all kinds of channels. We have channels on channels. And just a good place to kind of like, kick around ideas, tech chit chat throughout the day, or even funny things about weird food we would never eat. For some reason our food channel is just weird food, and it's awesome. Like there's very few pictures of food in the food channel that you would actually eat. Actually, there are a lot I would eat, but some of them, I don't know. I feel like, yeah. Anyways, you should totally check it out yourself. I'm not going to judge on what you eat. That's up to you. If you, like I said, if you missed something, if you want to say something to me and I skipped over, I do apologize. You can ping me in Discord. It's totally fine. I don't mind pings as long as it's not excessive. But yeah, you can ping me. I'll try to get back as soon as I can. Usually hang out there. I'll probably be in there later on tonight too, because I got a free night tonight. I will be back here next Saturday, and I will have something out on YouTube fairly shortly too. The last video I turned around in 5 days. I need to do that again. I need to keep turn around videos in 5 days. That would be awesome if I could, but hard to line stuff up with hardware. Anyways, have a great Saturday. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, take care, folks. Be good to each other. Take care.